our guest of honor, Father Rasputin.
Grigori Rasputin.
Time to dance.
Your reputation precedes you.
He was poisoned, he was shot, he was beaten, he was thrown into a frozen river, and yet he refused to die. Some called him a holy man, others called him a devil. The Russian royal family called him a miracle. His enemies called him a monster. History calls him one of the most mysterious figures who ever lived. This is the story of Grigori Rasputin. January 1869, in a tiny forgotten village called Pokrovskoye, deep in the frozen heart of Siberia, a boy was born. His name was Grigori Yefimovich Rasputin. Life here was brutal. No electricity, no roads, just endless snow, superstition, and the Russian Orthodox Church watching over everything. Grigori grew up in poverty, working the land with his father. But even as a child, people said he was different. There were stories that he could sense when horses were sick before the stable hands could, that his eyes had a way of piercing through people, that when he prayed, something in the room would shift. Whether you believe those stories or not, enough people believed them, and that would change everything. At 18, Rasputin visited a monastery, and something inside him broke open. He became consumed by religion, but not the clean, orderly kind. He was drawn to a fringe group called the Khlisti, who believed that sin and ecstasy could bring you closer to God. He traveled across Russia on foot, barefoot in winter. He fasted, he prayed for days without sleep, and slowly people began to follow him. They called him a starets, a holy wanderer, a man touched by God. By the early 1900s, Rasputin had made his way to St. Petersburg, the glittering, corrupt heart of Imperial Russia. This was a city obsessed with mysticism. The Russian aristocracy had grown bored with regular religion. They wanted prophets, they wanted mystics, they wanted someone who felt like a direct line to the divine. Rasputin was exactly that. His reputation spread through elite drawing rooms like wildfire. This dirty peasant from Siberia, with wild eyes and an untamed beard, could reportedly heal the sick, predict the future, and commune directly with God. And then he met the Romanovs. Tsar Nicholas II and Empress Alexandra ruled the largest empire on earth. But behind the palace walls, they were desperate parents. Their son, Alexei, heir to the throne, suffered from hemophilia, a disease where the blood does not clot. A small cut could kill him, and there was no cure. In 1905, Rasputin was brought to the palace. He prayed over Alexei, and somehow the bleeding stopped. Doctors had no explanation. Alexandra was convinced this man had been sent by God to save her son. What followed was one of the extraordinary power grabs in history. Rasputin became untouchable. Alexandra trusted him completely. When Nicholas left to command his troops during World War I in 1915, Alexandra was left to manage the government, and she leaned on Rasputin for everything: political appointments, military decisions, state policy. A peasant from Siberia was now quietly steering the fate of the Russian Empire. and the aristocracy was furious. Rumors exploded across St. Petersburg that Rasputin was having an affair with Alexandra, that he was a German spy, that he was a demon disguised as a holy man. Newspapers printed vicious cartoons. Ministers begged Nicholas to remove him. Nicholas refused. And Rasputin? He lived like a man who knew he was untouchable. He drank heavily. He visited brothels. He made enemies of everyone. One government minister later wrote that Rasputin was the living symbol of Russia's decay, but nobody could touch him until they decided they had no choice. December 16, 1916. St. Petersburg is freezing. The war is going badly. The empire is crumbling. And a group of Russian nobles have decided Rasputin must die tonight. The conspirators are led by Prince Felix Yusupov, one of the richest men in Russia. He invites Rasputin to his palace, promising him a meeting with his beautiful wife. Rasputin arrives. He is served wine laced with enough cyanide to kill 5 men. He drinks it, eats the poisoned cakes, keeps talking, plays guitar, sings. Nothing happens. Yusupov, terrified, pulls out a revolver and shoots Rasputin in the back. He falls. The conspirators celebrate. They leave the room. And then Rasputin opens his eyes. He gets to his feet. He grabs Yusupov by the throat. He drags himself up the stairs and out into the courtyard, screaming that he will tell the Tsarina everything. They shoot him again, 3 more times. They beat him with a club. They wrap his body in a curtain and throw it into the frozen Neva River. When they pulled his body from the ice days later, his hands were found raised as if he had tried to claw his way out from under the ice. Before he died, Rasputin had sent a letter to Tsar Nicholas. It read, "If I am killed by common men, you and your children will rule Russia for centuries. But if I am murdered by nobles, if they shed my blood, none of your children will remain alive, and Russia will be destroyed." His killers were nobles. Less than 3 months after Rasputin's death, the Russian Revolution began. Tsar Nicholas was forced to abdicate. In July 1918, Nicholas, Alexandra, and all 5 of their children were executed in a basement in Yekaterinburg. The Russian Empire was gone. The dynasty was over, just as Rasputin predicted. Coincidence? Maybe, but it's the kind of coincidence that keeps historians up night. So who was Rasputin really? A fraud? A miracle worker? A political opportunist? Or something darker? A man who genuinely could not be killed until the universe decided it was time. History doesn't give us a clean answer, and maybe that's exactly the point. Some men are not meant to be understood. They are meant to be remembered. If you made it this far, you already know this story deserved to be told. Drop a comment. What do you think? Was Rasputin a holy man or the devil in disguise? Subscribe for more stories that history tried to bury. I'll see you in the next one.